uh, Virgo, whether you like it or not, I want to sit with that phrase for a moment because it is the most honest possible opening for what is actually happening here. Not whether conditions are favorable, not whether the timing is right or the circumstances have aligned or the situation has resolved into something comfortable enough to approach, whether you like it or not, which is the specific, slightly humbling acknowledgement that certain things in life do not consult your preferences before they happen. That certain returns are not returns you orchestrate or invite or even necessarily want in the moment they arrive. They simply happen because the connection that produces them is stronger than the preference that would prevent them. Someone is coming back, and the coming back is not tentative, not the careful one gesture at a time approach of someone who is testing the water before committing to the temperature. Something more decided than that, more inevitable, with the specific quality of someone who has tried genuinely and with real effort to stay away and has arrived through the trying at the understanding that staying away is simply not something they are capable of. Not because they lack discipline, because what they are staying away from is you. And you have proven over time to be stronger than the effort to resist you. Take what is yours today. What resonates, let it settle without the complicated feeling that sometimes accompanies the news of a return. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something stir, not entirely comfortable, not entirely unwelcome, this reading is sitting with the full complexity of that stirring rather than smoothing it into something simpler than it is. Let me speak about what always means, because the second half of this reading's energy carries that word and it deserves careful attention. You were always one, not recently, not since a particular moment when the realization arrived and changed things. Always. In the retroactive, this was true before I understood it was true sense of something that existed before it was acknowledged. That was operating in the background of this person's life, shaping how they moved through their choices and their relationships and their understanding of what they were looking for without being fully visible to them as the force it actually was. Soft sigh. You have been the standard without being named as such. The specific, unconscious, this is what I am actually looking for standard against which everything and everyone else has been measured and found in the measuring to be something different from the thing the measure was built around, which is you, the one, not in the possessive I belong to no one else sense that makes the word feel like a claim rather than a recognition. In the honest, this is simply the truth that the trying to stay away confirmed sense of someone who has done the work of looking elsewhere and discovered quietly, without wanting to discover it, that elsewhere does not have what you have. They know this now, fully, without the ambiguity that might have softened the knowing in an earlier chapter. The return is not happening from a place of not knowing, from the hopeful, uncertain, maybe this will be different this time quality of someone who has not yet understood what they are returning to. It is happening from clarity, from the specific, arrived at through experience clarity of someone who has tested the alternative and found the testing definitive. Hear them because this voice needs to reach you before the formal version of it arrives. I tried. I want you to know that before anything else, not as an excuse, not as the setup for a justification of the absence, simply as the honest report of someone who made a genuine effort to be somewhere other than where they are right now, who did not take the returning lightly, who understood or thought they understood that returning would require something of both of us and tried to assess honestly whether that something was something they could offer, and who arrived through the trying at the answer, which is yes, it is something I can offer. Because the alternative, the life in which the returning does not happen, is something I have now lived enough of to understand its specific and daily cost. You were always the one. I did not always have that language, did not always have the honesty to apply it, or the courage to say it, or the specific understanding of what it meant that comes only from living through the evidence of its truth. But I have that now. The evidence is complete. And what it produced, what looking elsewhere and finding you everywhere produced, is a clarity about where I belong that I cannot, in good conscience, continue to resist. I am coming back. Not because it is easy, not because the path between where I have been and where I want to be is without complication, but because the complication of returning is less than the specific daily, I notice it in everything complication of not returning, of living in a life that is functional and complete in every measurable way except the one way that turns out to matter most, the one that has your name on it. Oh, feel the weight of that honesty. Because that is not the easy version of a return, not the impulsive, feeling driven, I missed you and could not stay away version that arrives without the cost of genuine reflection. This is the other kind, the kind that has been earned through the specific and sometimes painful process of understanding through absence, through looking elsewhere, through the definitive evidence of experience that what was left was the one thing that could not be replaced by anything the looking elsewhere produced. Now I want to speak to you directly, because whether you like it or not is in this reading for a reason, and the reason deserves honest attention. Because returns are not simple, are not the uncomplicated good news that the warmth of being wanted back can sometimes make them feel like. They arrive with history, with the full, unresolved, this is also part of the story weight of everything that preceded the departure and produced it. And receiving a return genuinely with the full quality of discernment that your own well being requires means receiving all of that alongside the warmth. Soft sigh. You are allowed to have complicated feelings about this. Spirit is pressing that forward today with the same warmth as everything else because the complicated feeling is not a problem to be solved before the return can be properly received. It is the appropriate response to something that is genuinely complicated. To someone whose return produces warmth and also the specific, legitimate questions that any honest person asks when something that left is now coming back. What has changed? Not in the language being offered, in the actual demonstrated, this is different from before behavior that would give the language its evidence. Those questions deserve answers, not as a test designed to produce failure. As the honest, self respecting, I know my own worth requirement of someone who has lived with the cost of the previous chapter and is not interested in incurring that cost again. Ask them from the grounded, clear eyed, this is what I need to know place of someone who understands that genuine love, the kind worth returning to, is not threatened by honest questions. That what is real holds up under scrutiny. That the return, if it is genuine, will demonstrate its genuineness through the quality of its response to what you need. And it is genuine. Spirit confirms that today the return is not performative, not the strategic deployment of what worked before in service of what is wanted now. It is the real thing, built from the specific and costly evidence of absence, from the looking elsewhere and the finding you everywhere, and the finally, I understand what you actually are to me, clarity that only certain kinds of distance can produce. The clarity is genuine. The return is genuine. And the you were always one understanding arrived at through everything is the most honest thing this person has offered in the entire history of what exists between you. Receive it with your eyes open. That is the specific invitation. Not with the guarded, I have been here before and I remember how it ended quality of someone who is already managing for the next disappointment before the current chapter has fully opened. And not with the wide open, nothing learned, the warmth of being wanted back overrides everything quality of someone who lets the feeling make the decision before the discernment has had its say. Eyes open, warmth present, discernment active. The specific combination of genuine openness and honest self knowledge that allows a return to be received as what it actually is rather than as what hope wants it to be or what fear has decided it must be. What it actually is, which is someone who left and looked elsewhere and found that elsewhere could not give them what you give them, who is coming back not from the comfortable position of someone who has not paid the cost of the attempt, but from the specific evidence based, I now understand what I had position of someone who has. That position, the one earned through the evidence of trying and failing to replace you, changes the quality of the return. makes it different from the returns that happen without the evidence. Makes the "you were always one" not a declaration of hope, but a conclusion arrived at through the specific and definitive process of learning it the hard way. Whether you like it or not, they are coming, with the full weight of what the absence taught them, with the clarity that only the trying to stay away produced, with the honest, arrived at through everything, understanding that you have always been the one, not as a feeling that could be managed or redirected or replaced by something proportionate to the effort of the replacing, as the specific, irreplaceable, this is simply true fact of what you are to them. What you do with the return is yours to decide. With your eyes open, from the grounded, self possessed, I know my own worth place that this reading is asking you to stand in as what is coming arrives, not from need, not from the warmth of being wanted back, overriding the honest assessment of whether the wanting is the right kind. From clarity, your own, complete, soft sigh. They are coming, whether you like it or not, as the one they always knew you were, even when the knowing was not yet honest enough to say so. What you do next is entirely, completely, without obligation yours. If this reading found you today, if something here named the complicated warmth of a return and gave you the grounded clarity to receive it, honestly stay close. Subscribe and come back. Because the story of what happens when someone comes back with the full evidence of what the absence taught them is one worth witnessing all the way through. And the next reading will be there for every clear eyed step of what you decide